Hello and welcome to the Comic Conspiracy, episode 475 for the week of, what is this? November 17th, 2020. And I'm
Batman.
There you go. I'm Batman. No, I'm Ryan. Oh, man. Why did I not put sound effects on this before?
There should have been part of it from episode 1.
Just a couple.
Dear God.
Slowly through every episode, I'll introduce another sound effect, and we'll just slowly build our library.
There's gonna be Patreon tiers for this, aren't there?
No, just slowly
They
build.
can vote on the one that stays.
We can get a sound clip of Bryce saying, for new listeners, and so that'll be like his entire.
Each Patreon member gets to introduce their own sound effect for one episode, and you have to use it.
So I'm Ryan. Who's here? Who's here this week?
Brock Sager
and Kevin.
No Toby. And no Charlie either. Hello. We're starting a little, not super late, but Toby said he was working late tonight.
Well, this is like an OG size podcast, right?
Yeah.
OG plus. OG is 2 plus.
Oh, right. That's right. Yeah.
This is another week of a lot of DC news and kind of minimal amount of other stuff. But we got some questions here, and
there's a bias on this podcast.
Sure. It's it's like 3 out of the 5 stories are about Geoff Johns, or two of the 4. Yeah, 2 of the main 4 stories about Geoff Johns. I mean, that's just how we roll here. It's the Geoff Johns podcast. While we've had just hold on, let me pull up before we get too deep into this. Let me pull up, of course, the rumor list where I continue to track rumors just to verify that none of these things have happened since our last episode. Big name DC creators leaving in March to go work for other companies. Actually, maybe a little bit of that. Not that most of these people are freelance. They're free to go do whatever. No continuity in their comics anymore. Well, no, that's still happening. February 24th, 2021, Rob Liefeld is still saying DC's going out of business. They're publishing books for March now, so we've got our first March announced title with Wonder Girl. So that doesn't seem like it's happening. And DC's going away from comic book stores and comic conventions and single issues. So, let's see. Oh, but we do have a new one this week, of course, from only the highest, the most. It is the Dan Rather of comic book news. That's Cosmic Book News and Ethan Van Sciver, only the most trustworthy source in comic books. The DC is closing and Jim Lee is leaving. So
why are you lumping Dan Rather in with that garbage? I know, but don't do that to Dan. That's just wrong.
I was going to say
that one doesn't work either.
I was going to say you really need that rumor list to have its own dedicated sound effect to introduce it each time.
little song and dance. So let's see. Let's
see if any toilet.
Every week, yeah. Let's see. We'll keep an update on this. And so we did add one rumor this week about DC closing and Jim Lee leaving. Of course, that does kind of coincide with Rob Liefeld's rumor, but it's a Ethan Van Sciver this time, so it's true. But we did have some more layoffs at Warner Media, including DC Comics, this past week. We kind of expected there to be more, just as DC and Warner Brothers and AT&T sort of consolidate and take bigger groups and obviously trying to be a little bit leaner. So the people that let go from DC, Michelle Wells, who was the co-editor-in-chief of DC Comics after Dan Didio's departure and the sort of the post-COVID kind of realignment, wasn't sure if that was going to be a permanent thing or not. Well, it's not. So we had the announcement of what's her name?
Marie?
Yes, Marie Javins, who is the head editor-in-chief now, of course. Michelle Wells, just interim co-editor-in-chief, but she's out. Alex Carr, who was one of the DC Kids Books editors, And now this goes, this is a little bit closer to the comic store angle here. So sales manager, Stuart Schreck, marketing director, Adam Phillips, events director, Fletcher Chufong, and Vince Lintero, who's the executive director of direct sales, were let go. Now, this, I think, is the reason people are like, oh, we're going to get rid of comic book stores. They're not going to focus on comic stores. I have a couple thoughts here. Kevin, Brock, I'd like to get your guys' opinion on this here. My feeling on this, now, I've known Stuart. I've known him for a while. I've talked to Adam regularly, so I talk to Adam all the time. I think people are over analyzing what's happening here because DC, as part of Warner Brothers, is merging departments. It's getting rid of excess employees. It's scaling down. This is pretty standard corporate, just money-saving techniques. Stewart's been there for 15, 18 years, something like that. Adam was like 20, 25 years. He's been there forever. Vince Lintero has been there forever. These are people that are high in the pay scale, long-time employees, lots of benefits, right? They didn't let go of the kids they hired in the last year or two, right? And I know a number of those people too. There's younger people there, probably not getting paid, obviously not getting paid as much, but this seems to be pretty standard cutting of the high dollar, high pay, more experienced people that are just, do we need 5 or 6 people on this team when we can have 2 or 3? Do we need these dedicated departments when we can merge a few departments? Do we need the guy that's been here for 20 years when we have a guy that's been here for a year making less money? I'm not saying that's correct. I'm not saying that's a good thing. I'm not saying it's right. I'm not saying it's fair. But I think that's what's happening here. I don't want to see any of these people lose their job, obviously. But to say DC is closing because of this, I think is the same nonsense we've been hearing now for years. It's going to be different. I think there's going to be some, the new people will have their kind of say. Nancy Spears, she's VP of sales. She's still there. She's working with the direct market. I talked with a number of the other people that are working at the direct market and other. In fact, one of the guys basically took over for Stuart like the day after he was out. I was getting emails. The email I would have got from Stuart, I now got from one of the new guys, right? So there's a lot of people that I think were in those lower positions that are now basically running the ship. Is that good? Is that bad? I don't know. Hopefully, right? I just don't think this is indicative of them getting ready to close down, especially with the hype around Future State, the Wonder Girl series. We'll talk about that a little bit later in the episode. Yeah, that's my feeling. Clearly people think this is the end of the world. We'll see. I don't think so, but
it's tough to come up with a scorching hot take or some informed take. I mean, you kind of covered it. These are behind the scenes, below the line people, right?
Yep.
And so this is something that really affects retailers primarily. This particular band of layoffs you're talking about, and you've kind of covered it. Like they had redundancy. They've chosen to keep the less experienced, i.e. cheaper people to do a job that somebody with more experience, but also probably at a higher pay scale was doing. I mean, you see this in hundreds, if not thousands of companies across the world on a regular basis. We're just aware of it now because it's in the comics press.
Right.
But really, it's hard to add anything else. I hate to speculate when it's people's livelihoods.
Sure. And that's why I if they were like shuttering the direct market contact and all the people I talk to on a regular basis outside of these guys were like, no, we're all fired too, then there would literally be no one there, and that would be odd. The people that, I mean, like, you know, I have my emails here. I could probably just pull one up. A wild podcast person just entered the chat.
Oh,
is that Toby? Is he on? Is someone trolling us? Is someone just listening? Did someone figure out our Zencaster link? Is this really Bryce? Who is it?
I do like the title though. Whoever it is.
There's another person in the chat. I don't know who you are, but please don't Zoom bomb us or something. Yeah, let me actually grab. I should have done this earlier. Let me grab my my most recent email. Yeah, because I'm getting emails. Albert Ching. I've been talking with him now for the last couple of years pretty regularly. Dustin Kitchens. He's the DC specialist sales, so that's his position, and he's again, I'm talking with him pretty regularly. He's a new person over there at DC. I think he only started in January. He's only been there the majority of his time has been in pandemic work. So very different. So these are the guys that were under Adam, under Vince, under Stewart, and now are kind of taking their position. So from a retailer point of view, I believe these things are still around. They're just in a slightly rearranged, fewer people taking on more responsibility. Now, I just don't see any evidence of this, we're phasing this entire thing out. I just don't see it. They need some liaison to the direct market if they're going to continue publishing comic books. It doesn't matter if it's the same people, they're the same positions. I don't know.
I think the sad part is that they're destroying. It's not that destroying, but they're causing a lot of retailers that have had close relationships with these people, and saying, "Oh nope, they're gone. Now you have to deal with this person," and that's where it's kind of also it's in the middle of a pandemic, right before the holiday season. Literally, the holiday season starts next week. So
yeah, but I mean, this is when this happens.
Well,
right?
But that's the thing for me, it's one of those things where people just go, "Oh, well, this is what happened." It shouldn't happen, right? You should hold them accountable for something. I get it; they got to make money and they got to trim the fat. I get that, but there's a time and a place. And right before the holiday season, in the middle of a pandemic, you take this and you shove these people. Bye. Right,
again, Brock. This is when this happens. In gaming, it's not the same level or anything like that. But there's a game press company called US Gamer that I follow, and they're like, "Oh yeah, no, we just completely shut down every single employee as of December 31st. We'll be out of a job. No, we're just done." The end of the year is when this happens because people are like, "Well, cool, doing our end of year numbers. All right, we got to cut by January 1st. Goodbye, everyone. Merry Christmas." And these guys will get severances, right? These guys aren't out on the street. Yeah. They've been there for a long time.
But the thing is you're talking as if it's a norm. It's something we just have to deal with, and that's a problem when you're literally sitting there in a capitalist society, and this is one of the banes of it. And you keep saying that it's okay by you not saying something anti but going, "Oh, it's okay, it's business." That's a cop out.
If you listen to the start of this podcast or the start of the conversation where I said it's not good, I don't agree with it, but this is the way it is. This is what happens. I would love companies to either not be able to do this or have very different rules or severances last much longer, whatever the case may be. But I don't,
because
this isn't.
Stuart, this is a guy you know. Did you hear it from him that he was let go, or did you just get an email from a subordinate that says, "Hey, I'm now doing this"?
Me?
Yeah.
I just heard this on the internet like everyone else. No, but they can't talk about this stuff. When you're all this stuff is NDA'd
but that's the thing is you're talking about a department that is direct market, that is supposed to be talking to comic book stores and establishing relationship with comic book stores.
Yeah, no, comic stores didn't hear word one about any of this.
Yeah, and that's the thing is
but it just happens all the time where it's just new people are taking over, right? I mean, I don't.
But normally you would get the other person saying, "Hey, this is the person who's taking over," blah 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 blah. Especially in these types of roles.
This happens all the time. Every company where I just suddenly start getting emails from a different person. Sometimes they introduce themselves. Most of the time they don't. It's just, like there was someone at IDW. I was emailing to get image artwork updates for Comic Hub, and suddenly it was just like no response. Email was blocked. Nothing for a week, and then like, hey, new people are here. It's like, oh, okay, there you go. That's fine. What happened? I don't know. It's a random person at a random job. You know that they.
But that you're emailing to get content. This is stuff that you've actually talked to Stuart.
I've talked to these other people too. Like it's the same. These are all just retailer liaisons and direct market people. I've talked to. I mean, I'm not like. I'm not like best friends with any of these people. Like I've never done I haven't done 25 years of cons hanging out with them multiple times, at 6 cons a year or anything like that. I don't live in LA. Like I don't live in New York. I don't know these people on that level, but I talk to them on a, somewhat regular basis online, and we've met a number of times, and it does suck, but I am divorcing myself from the companies shouldn't be able to do this. This sucks. The holidays suck. Blah blah blah. That is a given. All of that is accurate. No one should ever lose their job randomly because of downsizing or because the company's bad. I don't like any of that. But from a point of view of looking at the future of DC Comics, will they continue to publish comics? Yes. Will there continue to be direct market support? Yes. That's all I'm talking about. The argument of corporate structuring, sure, we can have that conversation if you want, and I'll agree with probably everything you say. That's just not the conversation I'm having. So
the best part is DC Comics is making is still making money.
I mean, it seems like it. Yeah, their books are selling well. Marvel and DC are profitable, as to the best of my knowledge. Books that aren't canceled. So we know the books that haven't been successful because they've already been canceled. So, what will we see come March? Is it going to be a bunch of random disconnected series that have nothing to do with each other, which is the theory? Again, I don't think so. And Kevin, you can, you've definitely got some a little more old school history than we do here. This is one of those parts of this rumor that drives me crazy. The whole idea that DC is going to ditch continuity. The example I used online is continuity is barely there in a lot of these books anyway. It matters when the writers want it to matter. Every time Galactus attacks the Earth, every book for the month or two doesn't reference it, right? Yeah. The Fantastic Four do, because they're the ones that it affects. So if you look 10 years ago, 20 years ago, 30 years ago, today, and probably in March, most of the books will be roughly the same amount connected to every other book out that week as they always have been. There are big crossovers, there are big events, but those little boxes that are like, oh, what's this? Go see Spectacular Spider-Man 213. I mean, those will still happen to the degree they happen now, which is not often, and they didn't, maybe in the 90s, really that, I mean, I guess 70s, 80s, 90s, they did them more, but.
Well, it's 70s, 80s, they did it more before the direct market because you had this spotty distribution system where, and I can vouch for this being the kid, one of those kids, where you might find Justice League of America, I'm just going to make up a random number, 150, and then I might not see it again until 154.
Yeah.
Just because the place where I would get comics, that just wouldn't show up. And so you had to have more isolated stories. I mean, a 3-issue long story was an event.
Yeah.
all joking aside, that was like a holy shit.
Those JLA, JSA, Legion crossovers are like 3 issues or 2 issues.
And you just had to hope you could get all 3. And so they had just by necessity, but now with the direct market, and we're going back to this classic argument, and I talk to every time I interview somebody in publishing on the publishing end, I always hit them with the Jim Shooter quote from the 80s. And I always want to get everybody's take on this as a modern publisher, which is the Shooter quote is every issue is somebody's first issue, meaning that the creative teams need to write and draw and create comics towards that as the North Star, that some kid who's never read Fantastic Four may be picking up number 375 as their first time ever reading it. And you need to be friendly to them and welcoming to them, and also satisfying to somebody who's got the other 374 issues in a long box. And the question I bounce off is, do you think that's still relevant in today's marketplace? Should creators keep that in mind? Is a kid going to walk in a comic store today and start with the latest issue of Batman that's on your new release rack this week as the first time they're ever being exposed to that character?
I think it's changed because the graphic novel now takes that place. But the idea, right, and you've seen this with DC and Marvel as well, right? Where every time Marvel has a creative team change, specifically the writer, they reboot the book, right? It's a new line of single issues. DC's done it on and off, but they've rebooted the graphic novel line. So when Tom King's off Batman, the graphic novel line becomes its own thing. Dan Didio's whole argument was they wanted to take the numbers off graphic novels because they just saw this just precipitous decline of sales when you got to volume 7, 8, 9, 10. And I, as a retailer, I can tell you it's the exact same thing. Even something like Sandman, I've sold hundreds of copies of volume 1 and maybe a couple dozen copies of like Kindly Ones or, The Wake. Because people are way more willing to try that first volume, and not many people see it all the way through.
And you understand that as a businessman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I do. And that's why I think like the Marvel, the Epic collections are some of the best collections of the older stuff. We've talked about this regularly, but the idea that it kind of hides those numbers.
Yeah.
Fantagraphics is the same thing with the Don Rosa. No, the Don Rosa Donald Duck stuff is numbered. It's the Karl Barks, because they're publishing them out of order like the Epics, and they just put the numbering inside. And so if you just want a collection or two of Donald Duck books, you could just get them, whatever. But if you want the full set, the numbering's inside and you can put them in the right order. That is a way better idea. I would not even mind I want comic books to be 1 through whatever, just to keep your numbering. But if there's this, like, we're just going to abandon numbers, you have the ability to just say, like, January 2021, February 2021. That's the issue number, right? 2 issues a month, early, late, right? Whatever. The numbering, while I think is important and I like it, I understand that can keep people away from grabbing it. But the people that are already in will jump on at a new story. It's getting the new people, kids and new readers. It is a harder thing.
Yeah. And when you bring that up, one of the funny Julie Schwartz anecdotes was after they reintroduced the Flash in the Silver Age and Showcase, and then when he got his own book, they resumed the numbering from the Golden Age. So I think it started at 105.
104, 105. Yeah.
And because the thinking back then was, and they discovered this apparently with like surveys that they would print in the back of comics, that you want a high number because a kid looking at a newsstand or an adult, whoever, a college kid, a high number gives the title more credibility. It must be good if it's been around for 100 issues, whereas a number 1, it's like, well, this thing may be like one and done.
Gone. Yeah.
I'm not going to risk that. I'd rather put my money on a sure thing.
It's funny because it's like the exact opposite now, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But it makes sense. It makes sense.
Well, I think a little bit of the graphic novel problem with that fall off is it's a natural fall off. It's the same curve with series single issue comic books, but I think with graphic novels it's a little worse because there's been so many things that haven't finished being produced in graphic novel format that the readership has kind of gotten hesitant about committing to those longer runs sometimes?
I mean, I'm
not saying it's a drastic amount, but I think that's also that plays into it because, I mean, yes, you sell less copies of Kindly Ones than you do Preludes and Nocturnes, but people know what they're getting into with Sandman, right? Like they tried it the first one, okay, they didn't like it, they didn't keep going, but those that like it keep going because it's printed, it's finished, right? It's contained. But if you have something like, like Flash is going, right? And I can understand changing it to creative team, but I think the problem is they changed it to creative team, but then they got rid of the numbering, and then they weren't cohesive on what they were doing with it, and then they were just randomly pulling other stuff and saying, this is what this is going to look like for DC with those, what was the essential ones?
Well, there's been some back and forth from DC specifically on what the formats are going to be. They tried those like single issue hardcovers for, or the single volume hardcovers for a few things. But yeah, I mean, overall, the vast majority of graphic novels are coming out in an easy enough format for people to go and read. You don't have to worry about like, well, got to start with volume 1 on this like 87 volume graphic novel. The manga has that problem, but superhero comics tend to restart that pretty regularly. Yeah, I just don't know what kind of getting back to DC and the dark market stuff. I just don't see massive changes going forward. Again, while this is one of the other parts too. One of the other things I tweeted. I want to see the fucking receipts on those kids' books. They claim that these things are huge successes, and I want them to be. I'm not saying, oh, fuck those. No. I absolutely want them to be. They're not on Amazon's charts. They're not on Comic Hub's charts. They're not on the sales charts. They're not very high on the sales charts that come from that had been coming from Diamond. Now the stuff we see from, that comes through Comic-Con. They're not on BookScan, at least not the 2019 stuff. They're on there, but just not very high. Yes, Scholastic book fairs could be a very large source of revenue for these books, and they could be the majority of sales are going through there. We'll never know. That's great, but that's not the direct market, and that's not traditional booksellers. So the books that are on that are your standalone Watchmen, your Batman, Hush. It's still those same titles are on there. Three Jokers is on Amazon's top list. None of the kids' books are on there for like the current week of like the best-selling graphic novel orders and pre-orders. So I don't want to see those kids' books go away in the young adult books. I would love for those to be wildly successful. I just don't see it. In all the places that there are numbers to report, those books are not on there. Now, I know there was a Wonder Woman one where they claimed it sold 250,000 copies. Fantastic. It's the
Diana Princess.
Yeah. I can't remember the full name of the title. And that could have been 100% BookScan, that could have been 100%
Princess of the Amazon.
Book fairs and everything. Great.
Well,
man, I want to see the receipts in those other books because they've tried these things, and there are a fuckload of young adult and all ages comics out right now, an absolute boatload, and none of them. It's like all the Avatar stuff is on Amazon's list. Very little hits the top seller lists for Comic Hub, which is 100 stores in the US. Very little of it's on the Comic-Con numbers. Very little of any title. Dogman and the big ones obviously are way up there, but nothing else.
Well, I think what it is it's they're just trying to get a foot into the market, right? Because
they've thrown their whole fucking boot into the market. Every company has, and if there's no return, they're going to pull out just as fast, because you have your tried and true traditional comic publishing from companies that sell regularly. The direct market is there. Bookstores and Amazon, man, those things, they go whatever way the wind blows. Comic book stores are very reliable sales, and I'm sure they sold a ton right out the gate, because there's very little out there. But now what? Now when you're putting out 4 a month, are the sales there? I don't know. We'll see. We'll know, because they put the stuff out so far in advance, because original graphic novels take a lot longer. If we're coming in like July, August, September next year, and all of a sudden you're seeing one or none solicited, remember that.
Are you going to put that on your thread?
No, it's not a rumor.
Isn't
if I hear from someone else, I can't start the rumor. Yeah, that's it. DC, what are you gonna do? See what happens.
What do you think is gonna happen with Black Label?
Oh, Black Label's a huge success. It's totally gonna stick around. There's no fucking way. We're gonna get more, not less. You don't think there's gonna be a follow up to Three Jokers? Oh, look, our next subject matter: Batman. Geoff Johns confirmed plans for a Batman 3 Joker follow up.
What, you don't have
Money, baby?
You don't have a segue?
Money.
You don't have a segue sound effect there?
I do have a segue.
Jesus.
It sounds like this.
I'm Batman.
Oh,
There
God.
you go. And I'm Three Jokers, and they're gonna have a Three Joker follow up. CBR. They did an interview with Geoff Johns and Jason Fabok and quoted their own interview with like 7 or 8 different articles before the full interview actually went up. And then when the full interview went up, it was just those 7 or 8 articles all put into one article. CBR, you are masters of the internet. Okay, I can't even be mad about you, because you're just you troll so well. You're so good at this. You're so good at just being the fucking worst. I will quote directly. I'll try not to do it over the course of 7 podcasts. But the best-selling DC. Wait, where's the actual quote? I had the actual quote here. Jay and I do have a story that we want to tell that springs off one of the many epilogues within it, and we can't really talk much more about that right now. So, of course, it's going to be in a spinoff. They'll do a one-shot. They'll do an OGN. They'll do apparently Earth 3 or Earth 1 number 3 is coming out. Like, it's finally done.
You mean Batman Earth 1 Volume 3?
Yeah. Yes. So yeah, let's see if Three Jokers gets that follow up.
Are you at all disappointed that Geoff used Bleeding Cool to make his announcement of the Image book?
I saw that in a few different places. But
Bleeding Cool had the exclusive first reveal.
Oh, did they?
Yep.
Well, that's a great way to segue into our second Geoff Johns topic for the day, and this is Geoff Johns and Gary Frank's new project from Image called Geiger. It's a post-apocalyptic tale of a man who's feared by many in a world where outlaws reign supreme. Yeah, that really doesn't tell me anything. Let me actually read the solicitation text. Here we go. Who are the scavengers of a dying Earth? Geiger has said in the years since a nuclear war ravages the planet, desperate outlaws battle for survival in a world of radioactive chaos. Out of the poison wasteland lives a man named the even the Nightcrawlers and Organ people fear. Some call him Joe Glow. Others call him the Meltdown Man. But his name is Geiger. I feel like this should cross over with Undiscovered Country or something. It's like very, very in tone with that book too.
Does this mean you're going to actually read a single issue independent book?
I read a handful of them. I read Undiscovered Country in single. I read Nights at the Dinner Table in single issues. I read a few others. I read Something is Killing the Children.
Do you buy that?
I buy Undiscovered Country. Yeah.
And Geiger #1, all covers.
Oh, of course, it's Geoff Johns comic and Gary Frank. Yeah. I just wonder this. This can't be this can't be ongoing, right? I mean, they just don't. Neither of them do ongoing stuff. This will be a 6-issue thing. I mean, maybe Geoff Johns could write it ongoing, but I love Gary Frank, but he just is not ongoing writer.
Does anyone want to take a guess at why there's the checkerboard across the top
on the cover?
Yeah,
looks like an old DC comic from the 60s. Logo. I wonder if this was maybe one of those books that were supposed to be like Vertigo when Vertigo got axed, and they're like, well, I guess we're just gonna go do it at Image. And don't get me wrong, I expect you're going to see a lot of big names at Image and some people doing Kickstarter. I mean, it's money, right? You're going to make more money at Image than you are at Vertigo.
Boom's killing it, so
you're going to make more money kickstarting if you're a big name. Like, yeah, obviously. If I don't know what Johns' next plan at DC is, other than potentially through Joker's follow up. I'd love to see him back on a regular book, but we'll find out. Sure, we'll see something.
They're trimming the fat right now. They don't want to pay him that much.
Well, then that is one of the big, the big things that DC is potentially scaling back on its pay. And if you're much like a longtime employee, if you're a longtime writer for them making big bucks, maybe they want to kind of hold off on that. I mean, look at Marvel, right? If you go back 10 years on Marvel, none of those writers, like Jason Aaron's like the only one still there, right? Nobody at Marvel was there 10 years ago.
Is Jason Latour still following up with Jason Aaron stuff?
I don't think he does anything at Marvel anymore, does he? I have no idea. Like Remender's gone. Who else? There was a couple other people that got real big. Fraction's gone. Kelly Sue DeConnick's gone. With DC, we know Scott Snyder has wanted to go off and do his own thing. That's cool. Johns is not an employee anymore, so he's going to go off and do whatever. That's fine. Tom King still has like 5 different series in the works. He's obviously their big guy. He's not going anywhere. Joshua Williamson, I don't think is going anywhere. I assume he's going to still be doing something there. Jolie Jones is going to be doing this Wonder Girl series, and she must be one of their bigger talents right now. She's got a lot of hype around her. She's been doing a lot of big stuff.
Still waiting on her Catwoman wedding dress statue.
Hell, James Tynion IV, obviously their number one guy right now because of Batman. I highly doubt they're going to let him go.
Well, they've got a couple people coming up. Is it 5 or V?
Ram V. Yeah, no, he's been doing a bunch of stuff. His Justice League Dark is fantastic. Yeah. He's doing a great job in that book. I would love, look, they're going to bring out Frank Miller. Frank Miller's going to do another Batman series. It's been a while. Of course they're going to, and they're going to pay him a fortune because it's Frank Miller and it's going to sell a lot. Like, there's no way it's a Money in the Bank. There's no way they're going to get rid of that stuff. So, yeah, you just have go back and look at the writers of DC Comics 10 years ago. None of those people are writing for DC anymore. Well, very, very, very few.
Hey,
go back and look at Marvel 10 years ago.
Don't badmouth Tomasi, man. That guy kicks ass.
He does. I love Peter Tomasi, and I hope he continues to do more stuff. He just hasn't done much. Go look at everyone that wrote at Marvel 10 years ago.
Writing detective
20 years ago. Well, yeah, I don't want him to go off detective. That's the one thing he's doing. None of those people that worked at Marvel 10 years ago, except for Jason Aaron, I think is still there. There's Dan Slott's still there, obviously, but there's very, very few.
Nick Spencer.
Was Spencer still? Oh, he was maybe just coming in.
Yeah, because remember he was doing that Ant-Man stuff, and he did the Ant-Man stuff, and he was doing was it Superior Foes? Was right around that time.
Yeah, but yeah, a lot of people come and go. So,
I mean, Bendis isn't there anymore.
Well, that's the question, right? If Bendis is not doing anything at DC, he may take a few months off to start up his another project. But if all of a sudden Bendis is like, no, I'm gone from DC, then at that point, I would say you may want to, that there's some truth to this because he brought all his independent stuff over there. They published everything. He brought all his friends over. That would be a slight cause for concern. I don't think Bendis is going to leave Marvel just for 2 years at DC. So
he could, like you said, take a kind of break and then come back and potentially do Batman, because he has expressed interest.
Legion's still going, as far as I know.
But he has expressed interest in writing Batman, because he wrote the Batman Universe one, and he said he really enjoyed it. So
yeah, I can't imagine Bendis is going anywhere. So DC Future State, this is their big early 2021 a little event coming in January and February, and of course there is a lot of hype around the Wonder Woman series featuring the new Wonder Woman Yara Flor, Flor, Flor. And, well, what do we know? Greg Berlanti and CW were already working on the TV show. Now they're calling her Wonder Girl on this. It's not officially picked up yet, but come on, it's going to happen. This is Wonder Girl features a take on a longtime character that will be new to most Wonder Woman and Wonder Girl fans. Yara Flor is a Latina dreamer whose parents were an Amazon warrior and a Brazilian river god. When she discovers that she is a Wonder Girl, she must use her newfound powers to fight the evil forces that would seek to destroy the world. So we'll have Arrow's gone, Supergirl's wrapping up. I gotta assume Flash is going to be done too, and Legends. So we'll have Black Lightning, Superman Lois, Batwoman, Wonder Girl, and Stargirl. 5. That sounds right.
Do you think they're gonna bring Static in to like Black Lightning?
Yeah, was there a talk of a Static TV show?
I think so. I think
or a movie.
I think they were talking about something on some of the panels during that DC fandom with the milestone stuff, but
yeah,
we haven't really heard anything since.
Oh, I haven't heard anything about any milestone stuff. Again, let's see if anything ever actually comes of that. I will hold my breath, because Milestone does not have the best track record of actually putting out new titles. And what's great too, CW, if they want to have this new Wonder Girl, then you can always bring over Wonder Girl from Teen Titan or from Titans. They could do a little crossover there if they want to bring those characters over. I highly doubt CW can score that.
Do you think that CW goes with Young Justice versus Justice League?
I mean, I'm totally fine with that. I doubt they're going to score the cameo from Gal Gadot herself for the opening episode. But hey, you can dream, right? We could dream. So we'll see.
They pulled off stuff before.
Yeah, they did. Yep, they brought in Flash, right? So that's what happens. That Wonder Woman series. Yep. And she's a little bit older in this. She's I think in the comics she has been around for a little while. So this is gonna be a big launch. That Wonder Girl or that Wonder Woman comic suddenly. Definitely shot to the top.
Get on the hub now and put in your orders.
People have. So yeah, we'll see what happens with that. It seems pretty cool. But
it's really cool. That Joelle Jones art on it.
Yeah, I mean, it's so dumb to me that people are like, "Oh, Future State is dumb. It's just nothing, just fill-in." It's like, no, I really feel like they're doing something with these books. It doesn't seem like just pointless nonsense. It actually feels like they're doing something cool with them. So,
are these the same people that talk a lot about Ten of Swords?
Maybe. I just again don't believe that had this been the permanent change, that would have been a good idea. But introducing a new character, especially new Wonder Girl, yeah, sure, we've had a few of them. Cool, why not? That's fine. I like Cassie. Love Donna. We got a third. Cool, sweet. All right, have more. All the Wonder Girls, totally fine. So let's see what happens. Kevin, you in for another CW show? How many can you do? All of them? Just marathon all day, 24/7?
Well, considering that I haven't seen any outside of the Crisis crossover since Flash season 3, maybe. So I'm going to have a lot of catching up to do. No, I haven't. I watched the first episode.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
How about a mysterious fourth host? Would you like to chime in? Let us know your thoughts.
He just signed in to troll you, right? Like, he doesn't have a mic. He's not doing anything. He's muted you. He's just doing it to bother you.
That's fine. That's fine. Mysterious stranger. Well, let's talk to some people who are not strangers. That's our wonderful Patreon backers. So someone actually asked, like, are we doing questions on Twitter anymore? Because I've just been super late and super lazy about doing that. Look, I don't got time for like 3-hour podcasts anymore. Like, sorry, I just don't. I can't.
No, it's not that you don't have time for them. You don't want them.
I mean, I don't have time for them. Like we're not starting recording at like 6:45 anymore.
Well, luckily there are no major movie releases that are going to require a 3-hour podcast.
Dude. We need the 3.5-hour conversation about the Snyder Cut trailer in black and white that came out today.
That's true.
It's like, what? Black and white, and it's also like in like 4:3. Like, cool.
Aren't we doing
what's wrong with this guy?
Yeah, I know. I know what'll get your 3-hour podcast back is doing a reading discussion of every future state issue, like with the New 52.
Maybe we could do that. That'd be fun.
Just break it up into episodes.
A couple of
Yeah,
we can do that. Yeah, we could do that.
Hey, I have a question before you get to the Patreon ones.
Yeah.
I wanted to hear Charlie's answer too, but we'll just have to speculate what it might be. I was having this conversation about Taskmaster in advance of the soon-to-be released Black Widow movie.
Yeah.
Quote unquote soon.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah, we're waiting for the sound effect there.
That was I paused to let him fill one. Okay, thank you.
I know you were waiting, but
it's much funnier when it has to be set up and explained.
Yeah,
but anyway, tell me a costume that you love in comics that you don't think would look good translated to live action. I'll give you mine while you guys are thinking. What?
Do we have to like the costume?
Yes, that's the point. You think it's really cool on the page. So mine would be the Walt Simonson Manhunter, which I think is, and if anybody hasn't read those comics, just Google Simonson Manhunter, and the comics are great too. I can't imagine an actor walking around on screen in that costume and looking cool.
I'm going to look at my Gary Frank Golden Age, Silver Age, 80s triptych background here, because I'm sure there's a character on here that would probably not look great. No, that's a bad costume anyway. They have that. He had to draw that Black Canary with like the weird black bits on the front and like that long. Weird. That's a terrible costume. Well, this one may actually be something we might see. I'm gonna go Golden Age Green Lantern. With that collar, man. I don't know that you could pull that off in real life.
Yeah. Okay.
Pull it off with magic, but not with.
It's a funky look. I love it. All right, I love Alan Scott's costume.
Oh yeah.
That might be a little too much in real life, right? And look, I'm not going to complain about Starfire either. But again, that costume in real life might.
Oh, Teen Titans Starfire
just wouldn't work.
Yeah, especially with that hair as Perez used to draw it.
Yeah. Just maybe not functional.
The Geoforce Green Bay Packers costume. I love the color scheme, but if they actually had a Geoforce that came out on screen with that, the memes would kill it. It'd be over.
My runner-up besides Manhunter would have been Jack of Hearts.
Oh yeah. Oh, he's terrible. I mean,
can you imagine?
In real life, there's no way that would be
no
horrible.
way.
What about the Nightwing disco costume?
I love that costume. Okay,
that would not transition well.
You'd have to have him. Okay, for that to work on live action, you'd have to have him appear in that costume and immediately do something badass to neutralize
or
anybody
just
laughing.
Somehow comes up on a Doom Patrol episode.
Yeah. Because in the comics, when that debuted, he comes walking down a staircase in that costume and introduces himself to Jericho, like with his arms spread out wide, like it's a fashion show. And
it pretty much was.
That would be a little tricky to pull off with an actor. That is my favorite Nightwing costume, though. No irony, no snark. I'm being serious.
A little bit like in Luke Cage, the TV show, where he has to just grab clothes and he puts on yellow shirt and he's like, what? This is ridiculous.
That Luke Cage yellow costume will always be cooler than the black muscle shirt club bouncer look that they gave him.
Yeah. So a couple questions here from our wonderful Patreon backers. Now, again, someone did ask, it's not that we don't want to do questions on Twitter. I will when I don't have Patreon questions. But I do want to give our patrons first crack. So for $1, you can just go to, or more if you would like. For $1, you can go to patreon.com/conspiracy.
For $1.
Join and
now the pressure's on to give a really good, intelligent answer. Now that I know somebody's paying for the question.
Well,
they're all paying for the question.
No, but the way you're saying it, you put $1 in the tip jar and you can ask a question. The pressure's on to be really articulate.
You can join the Patreon, and one of the perks is open to the Q&A thread where we'll prioritize answering these questions.
Just one of the many perks.
I can't wait for the dating advice.
And there's really no other perk other than that.
Choose your sound effect. Coming soon. Brock will give you dating advice, I think he just said.
Marco, for the breeders in the podcast, which right now we just have Brock on today, have you had much luck getting your kids into reading comics? As a father of a 1-year-old, I'm looking for tips on what to do in future years to pass my love of comics onto him.
So my kids have gotten into a lot of the young adult graphic novels. So like Dogman, and my daughter really likes Owly, the independent one. She hasn't really started reading the DC superhero girls, but she likes looking at them. I think it's just, if they see you enjoying it, then it bleeds over and they want to read some stuff. So you have to be patient, and you just have to let it happen however it's going to happen. So, yeah.
Is there a book? I don't even know, Ryan or Brock either. I don't, I actually, I learned to read with a comic called Spidey Super Stories, which were really simple, basic stories, not a lot of word balloons. But is there even a book like that?
Tiny Titans.
And they have the little golden books. They have a lot of superhero ones, and there are much simpler kids comics from Marvel, DC, and a lot of the.
I think my thing was, I remember as a kid, I didn't want to read a book about kids superheroes because it didn't seem cool. Yeah. I don't care about Robin. I want to be Batman.
Yeah.
So I wanted to read Spider-Man, and that felt like a real Spider-Man comic.
Yeah. Again, I think it's just if you get them, it's just getting them the right gateway comic, getting them that one that's going to hook them, right? Mm-hmm. I don't know if it follows it needs to be a brand new story for brand new readers to get into, but it just needs to get their attention. So.
Yeah, and there's lots of different options for the kids books that are all very standalone, and you're not going to end up you could just kind of grab anything. It's from Gilbert. He says, I recently found out today, this was on Friday, that it was the last week for Andy Corey at DC, who's one of the editors that was let go, and a lot of the people that were let go this past Friday was their last day. At the same time, I found out that he edited Green Arrow Rebirth, which is a series that brought me into comics 3 years ago. Oh, interesting. With that in mind, to just show some appreciation to editors, who are your favorite editors?
I don't really know too many.
This is tough because if he's asking about who are your favorite editors as a person, I can answer it, but it's tough because you don't really know what they're doing. like in their actual you don't know what the book looked like before the editor got his or her hands on it.
Right.
We don't, as outsiders, know exactly what they're doing. Ryan, you have a thought? I mean, I can name some, but
I mean, like on the modern day, who's editing the books that I really like, right? And obviously, like Brian Cunningham at DC is one of those editors. He does all the Geoff Johns stuff, right? He's done
he does the Morrison Green Lantern,
right. And obviously, those are some and also no longer at DC,
right?
I admittedly don't follow editors very much. I'm going to be there mostly for the creators and the characters. But yeah, you'll sometimes know that you'll sometimes see that creators will consistently work with the same editor on a regular basis. You have I gotta figure like back in the day, like when Stan Lee was EIC, like he must have been fairly hands off on a lot of those books.
Oh yeah.
As time went on. But then you were talking about Jim Shooter, right? Who was
Jim Shooter's notorious hands-on EIC. Yeah.
He basically wrote the entire line of Marvel Comics through their creators. So editors are very different these days. I don't think most editors have either of those. Even like EIC is a little bit different, but they were much more in charge. I feel like. I mean, no disrespect meant to editors like in modern day. I feel like they are. It's different than it used to be.
Oh yeah, but an editor is not just working on the comic. They are a psychiatrist. They are like a kindergarten teacher. Like there's a lot of different moving parts to that job that isn't just proofreading the script.
Right.
Like you got to wrangle a lot of different things to get that going, especially when you don't have a bullpen where people are right there where you can pin somebody down. You've got creators scattered everywhere and you're working pretty much electronically.
Now.
Exclusively today, unlike in the 70s, 80s, 60s, and further back. I'll just name, these are people who are really smart creatively and also really cool people. You named Brian, he's still alive. Okay. Brian's a great guy and a really smart comics guy. Lauren Sankovic is another of my favorite editors. She was with the Fraction Kelly Sue DeConnick company and Image, and she was at Marvel before that. Heather Antos, Alana Smith, who's been at Marvel for years. Alana's, I think, Tom Brevoort's right-hand person at Marvel. And this is the danger of starting to name a list and then you get halfway through and go, shit. And after we quit recording, I'm going to go, I forgot to name A, B, and C. So I'm just going to give those names and say, and many more.
Yeah. Tyler Willits says, as I'm reading X of Swords, and I really like it, so deal with it. Hey, I don't care. I hope you like it.
None of us have read it, right?
Tyler's so aggressive.
I didn't catch up with the X books prior to it. I got to burn through everything. I've been catching up on Amazing Spider-Man and what am I reading from Marvel right now? Amazing Spider-Man. I caught up on FF Avengers. I went through Empire. I caught up on some of the previous arcs of Daredevil. I'm reading Spidey now, and that book there's like 3 or 4 issues a month on that book. I got way far behind on Spider-Man, so I'll catch up on X-Men probably once X of Swords is done. He said, I'm very interested in the Excalibur stuff. I've never read any of it prior to the current series. Is the original run worth picking up? I like the Captain Britain multiverse protector idea that's going on and would like to get more into that. That stuff is not. That is more recent.
You might also want to check out the Alan Moore, Alan Davis, Captain Britain stuff pre-Excalibur.
Yeah, and that was
they had a trade of that.
And that was the UK stuff that they printed here in X-Men Archives, if I'm not mistaken.
Because there is a Captain Britain standalone trade that collects all of that.
Yeah, but I'm not sure if that's in print.
Okay. Do you guys like the first Excalibur? I like the first Excalibur, the Claremont Alan Davis.
Yeah, it's very funny. Yeah, it's very different than this stuff.
Oh, very different. Yeah,
no, it's a totally different book. Yeah, I read Excalibur. I may have read like the entire original run of Excalibur.
I did. Yeah.
Warren Ellis took over in the back half. That was some of his early Marvel work. That was real early stuff by Warren Ellis. Yeah, I probably read the vast majority of Excalibur. Yeah, I liked all the Kitty Pryde Lockjaw stuff. Very funny. Megan. She's a cool character. I like Megan. Who else? Yeah, just that early Claremont stuff was pretty fun.
Yeah,
it was a comedic book.
Yeah. The Alan Moore Captain Britain stuff does have that parallel Earth stuff in it.
Yeah, but I don't think they really deal with that in Excalibur.
No, but I thought he was saying in the question that he liked that aspect.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
So I'm saying that
Excalibur, I don't.
Yeah, you might have to go back pre-Excalibur to find more of that.
Yeah, and the whole recent Betsy Braddock being Captain Britain stuff, that's all very current.
Yeah, I've never seen that before in anything. I mean, maybe we just have gaps in our knowledge, but that was completely new to me in the new Excalibur.
Yeah, because she's Captain Britain's sister, right? I mean,
yeah,
that's Braddock. Yeah. So that character did not really exist in comics for 30 years, maybe, right?
Or maybe she was in comics and just not made a big deal of.
Well, no, they
was she just introduced?
No. She became Psylocke, and so that version of that character,
that's right. That's right.
For ever, right? She was totally gone. So they only brought her back like a year and a half ago or so.
Right.
If they did anything with, so she was in. Yeah, I mean, trying to think here. Yeah, she becomes.
Well. Excuse me, I'm totally wrong because it says here she first appeared in the UK series Captain Britain.
Yeah, she was around before Betsy Braddock. I mean, because she becomes Psylocke.
What I was meaning, and I think we're going around in circles. I meant her as Captain Britain. I had never seen that before this.
Yeah, no, she was. I mean, I think the Captain Britain core stuff. I don't think that was in the earlier Alan Moore stuff, but I could be wrong. I haven't read that stuff in forever.
I read it in 2020, reread it in 2020, but that almost doesn't count. Like that could have been 5 years ago.
Yeah. Anyway, go find that trade. It's probably I can't expect.
We have, I think, a decent run of that Claremont stuff.
Can't imagine
in our set thing.
Oh, the Excalibur, yeah.
I'm currently on eBay. I'm currently on eBay trying to see if I can find it.
It just depends if he wants more Captain Britain specifically or just Excalibur.
Yeah,
there's two different paths to go.
Yeah, we've
and the winner here is you get Alan Davis on art either direction you go.
Yeah, I want to say we have a decent run of that. I'll have to check. I'll get back to Tyler.
Yeah, and Excalibur, it's not a super pricey book. You can track it down super cheap if you want to go deep on it. Final question of the night is from Zach. He says, "How are you guys feeling about death metal at this point? I liked the story at the beginning, but now I'm left feeling it's become a little bloated with all the one shots and the main plus the main issues." Well, as far as I know, it's basically the same schedule as Dark Knight's Metal.
No, Metal had a couple more tie-ins.
Well, there's still more coming.
No. Or is Death Metal having tie-ins with books? Because Justice League right now is the only one.
Oh, yeah, no. Tie-ins. Yeah, no, but I would think probably there wasn't that many. There was the Teen Titans couple issues. There was the Green Lantern Flash, and I would think the total event is probably the same amount of issues when you add them the one shots.
Yeah,
I think there might be a couple extra one shots for Metal, but the tie-ins there's fewer.
Yeah, there's more one shots in Death Metal than there was in Metal.
Yeah,
the crossover tie-in issues. There's more in Metal than there are in Death Metal.
So what I think is smart about what they're doing in Metal is you basically have an issue, then it expands out to the couple one shots to sort of explore. But they're good about, they don't seem to be like essential. You can skip them.
Yeah.
Maybe the only other ones that you don't want to skip is the ones where Superman, Batman, and Wonder Woman goes off to do their things, because those books, they do kind of take off and then they come back, and then it was up between issues 3 and 4, I believe. Mm-hmm. Like the Robin King one, you could totally skip that.
I enjoyed that one. Did you guys like that one?
Oh yeah, sure. But I'm saying
I enjoyed it.
Yeah, but you don't need to read it. No.
Yeah.
The Speed Metal was really good.
I think maybe Speed Metal might be a little bit more important. Yeah. Just because you are following the Flash through that issue. But I mean, again, that's just big events. You're going to get. We were talking about Empire a few minutes ago. There's definitely like, what in the hell happened? Oh, it's this entire other miniseries. Yeah. Okay, the books just go in and out, in and out.
I'm still, Ryan, now that you've read it, I'm going to stand by my review. My favorite parts is the Emperor Hulkling one-shot.
That's pretty good.
Empire #1, and then the Aftermath wrap-up issue with the wedding.
Yeah, it does kind of go nowhere for like 5 issues. It's just sort of like spinning its wheels. Yeah. Nothing really going on.
Yeah.
Better or worse than Three Jokers?
Empire?
Yes.
And by what standard?
Spinning the wheel. Like there's way too much here. You could have.
Oh, Empire's way more wheel spinning because it's more issues.
Empire's like 40 issues.
Yeah.
And all the science and shit if you want that. Yeah.
My favorite Metal crossover so far has been the one with Owlman.
Oh, that was so good.
Which I guess you could skip. You could skip that.
Was that Multiverse's End?
Yeah.
Was it? I don't even know the names of them. I just call it the Owlman one.
Unless that comes back into play. Unless suddenly Owlman comes in at the end of the day and saves everyone.
The day. That would be fantastic.
That might be a little awkward. But yeah. Death Metal is a huge fucking story, and like a lot of Scott Snyder stuff, I really like it. It's way crazy and way over the top, and there's just a dump of info in every book. But I'm along for the ride, and especially with whatever's coming up starting in March and on the Omniverse, whatever they're doing with DC, this sort of best of all worlds.
It's a fluid, open universe of possibility.
The anti-crisis, the uncrisis, however they're going to get out of this, and there's definitely in 5, which is out this week. There's more of that. It does seem like.
So, are we really heading for the Ryan Higgins dream here of bringing Superboy Prime to be a hero?
I don't want him to be a hero. I want him to be a fucking asshole dick villain forever.
Okay. No. My mistake. I thought you just tolerated the asshole part.
No.
You like it.
He embraces it. That's what I can't stand.
Never mind.
Hate that character.
I don't want him to be a hero.
No, okay. Ryan loves the asshole characters.
Superboy Prime. Are we getting your nightmare with him as a hero?
I mean, they could. I could see them sacrificing him and then he goes off and saves the day. That's fine. I mean, if they do that, that's okay. But if the multiverse, the asshole version can always come back.
Could I have that character and the Joker and the Batman Who Laughs put in a rocket, shot into the Omniverse, and we will next hear from them in 2030?
I think you're gonna. Oh, goodbye. I think that is probably likely. Except for Three Jokers follow up. I don't think we're going to get Batman Who Laughs or Joker for a little while. They
thank God.
I love
the characters, but I need a break.
And they've done this before. I mean, there's always, the Batman black and white series. I'm sure Joker will pop up there. He'll pop up in random stuff.
Well, I don't mind popping up like was Tomasi's issues where he pops up in it's that Joker story at the was it the amusement park?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, boom. It wasn't in continuity. It was just a story. It was one and done. I'm like, cool. I like that. But Batman Who Laughs? I mean, when did Metal come out?
2017?
Was it 2017? So it's like we have gotten a constant flow of the Batman Who Laughs for 3 years now, almost 4.
I mean, he's been around. They had his one miniseries, and he showed up in like Batman, Superman, and a few other things. But it has been like crazy. Like this year, he's been
in Justice League. Like he was in Justice League. He was
just
in
for like that arc.
Batman
though,
like he was in his own series. Like he's been like, but it's all connected to Scott's stuff. So
yeah, of course, yeah, he's been around through that narrative, but he's not in like all these real like he's not in like 6 books a week or anything like that. Like he just really shows up in that one.
Wait till after Future State.
No, in that one book. But yeah, they've got to hold off on Joker for a little while after this. It just makes sense. It's they realize they've probably done quite a bit this year. So but yeah, I mean, like I said, to answer the question, I'm down with wherever death metal goes. We'll see where it ends up. It's going pretty much like I expected. It's totally over the top and crazy, which is what I wanted. So yeah.
Did you guys read that Infinite Hour Extreme?
I haven't read that. I didn't read last week's, and I didn't read 5 yet.
Kevin's reaction is priceless.
Known Lobo lover.
No, I'm a no Lobo zone.
No Lobo zone. So Lobo is one of those books that if I keep working on my post crisis run, Lobo is a book that can be like completely skipped because he basically does his own thing and is out of the kind of main continuity. Lobo's a little bit like Venom. People really like that character, and like that's the one character they love. And I like Lobo in a Superman story. I like Lobo as sort of the asshole that fights the Justice League. I don't like reading a standalone Lobo comic.
I agree.
Yeah.
As a foil to Superman,
yeah, he's great. Yeah, again,
as the star, I just don't find it interesting. It takes me back to the Image days, and I don't mean the good Image days.
I will defend Lobo like crazy on season 2 of Krypton. He was fantastic in that show. And he worked really well because he's such a jerk.
I've only seen episode 1. I can't comment.
Of season 2 or just of
Krypton?
Season 1? Oh,
when they showed the free episode, whenever that was.
Sounds real good. It's way better than I.
It's a shame it ended so in its infancy.
Yeah.
You mean the planet or the show?
The show.
They set up Darkseid and Thanagar in the finale, and then it's just like, sorry.
So kind of like the end of Justice League for you.
Almost worse.
Yeah. Can we right now on the podcast? Can we make a pact to never call Darkseid Uxas?
What?
So that's his name, right? UXUR Uxas, right?
Where are you getting that from?
Or Uxas? Yeah. Uxas? Yeah. UXAX. Uxas? That's his name, right?
UXAS?
Yeah, Darkseid, yeah.
And you're saying it Uxas?
I had UXAR in my head.
Oh,
it's
okay.
UXAS, USA.
So is it Uxas? All
the Snyder Cut people are like, yes, Uxas. It's like, it's fucking Darkseid. Like, it's Darkseid. Why do you keep calling him this? Nobody calls him this, but like Zack Snyder does. And the Snyder Cut people call him Uxas.
Are you just trolling right now? Is this a real thing?
No, that is legitimately his name.
Probably a real thing.
I don't know when they first called him that, but that is his name.
Yeah, it is. It's on his official Wikipedia, like in parentheses, Uxas.
Okay, well, I learned something tonight.
It's just literally nobody calls him that, and I don't know if it's people are being like, oh, like we're super cool, but it's like all the Zack Snyder people call him that. It's like, no, what? No, his name's Darkseid. Like, don't call him Uxas.
He had a brother. Hey, funny enough, he had a brother named Drax.
So just
so yes, I'll join your pact.
Okay,
you won't hear me say that ever after tonight.
Yeah.
Well, what if we're actually talking about his origin story, where they call him Prince Uxas?
Well, in the Jack Kirby origin, where he's an infant,
Yuga Khan.
He's not called Uxas. I said it. Damn it. Okay, after this.
So just write Darkseid, please. Don't write that other word, because nobody calls him that ever ever in anything except for Zack Snyder.
What if somebody brought to you like Uxas is? Would you get like even more mad?
No, because his name is Darkseid. Like
Uxas is Darkseid.
Like don't like does Thanos have another name?
I think he does.
Would Ryan wear a shirt that says Uxas is?
There's some.
I would wear a shirt that said Uxas is, just to see if people knew what was going on.
Well, I can answer that already.
Except they wouldn't care.
Like, it's funny to call Black Bolt.
Oh, don't say it. Oh, that's a Mark Grunwald.
Right? That's funny. So that's okay. That's funny that's his name.
No, I guess Thanos is his name.
Uxas is not. Just don't.
But just that's his alter ego.
But Blackgar Boltagon is amazing.
That was a Mark Grunwald. Like, that had never been established before the 80s, and he just randomly decided it on his own. Like, I'm renaming this character.
I love it. That I'm okay with, because it's the dumbest shit. That's fine. Uxas? No Uxas. Okay. But if he wanted to call himself something, he could always say,
I'm Batman.
And that would be fine. If he wants to call himself Batman, that'd be totally fine.
Wait, if Darkseid wants to call himself Batman?
Look, that's okay with me.
I mean, you got to go deeper than that with that guy.
Patreon members, don't forget to send in your sound effects.
Yeah, God.
All right. That
Legion of sound effects.
Hold on. I'm going to put Uxas in the...
sound effect boy.
Uxas.
Why do you keep saying it? It's like nails on a chalkboard.
It's like he likes it now. It's running off his tongue so much now.
Putting in the show notes.
It tickles his fancy.
Thank you to all our wonderful...
Is Uxas a backer?
Backers. Joe Duff. Jesse Peterson at the Comic Book Matters podcast. Jimmy Rivera at the Social Forum podcast. Andrew Nelson Mendez at Recovery of an Anime Junkie podcast. Craig Anderson over at craigpanderson.com. And for if you don't know what he does, he helps people if you want to become better at your business, be a better professional. You should check out craigpanderson.com.
Yeah, transition from an Uxas to a Darkseid. I mean, he'll help you there.
See, this is why I don't ever make jokes on this podcast, because Brock just puts them in the ground, and it's just I never.
One of those people that give us Twitter questions is going to sign up as Uxas and donate, so you have to say the name every time. Somebody's going to do it. You're the one that did it to yourself.
Mario, it's funny when I say it. It's not funny when you say it, okay? Mario Miranda has a YouTube channel called The Comic Lounge, which is dedicated to talking about comic books and interviewing creators. So go check out Comic Lounge over there. Thank you, Mario. please go to geekbox.net, comicspiracypodcast.com, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify for all our previous episodes, and patreon.com/comicconspiracy. For $1, you can answer. You can put some questions in our Q&A thread, and the higher tiers get some promotion every episode. Please go to comicsconspiracy.biz. I should say, all of California has moved back into the purple tier of closures for COVID-19. That said, we are still open because the purple tier allows a 25% capacity for retail stores. We really have not changed since we reopened. We are maintaining that 25%. We have gone over it because we're allowed to, but I still have the limit when I need to. Now we need to, so we are open, normal hours. You can come in. Masks required, of course, over the nose, of course. But we do now have a more forcible limit of customers in the store at a time. And we ask you, please limit your browsing time. I love hanging out and talking to people, but I don't want to die of COVID-19. So please buy your comic books and leave.
You can browse for as long as you want at comicsconspiracy.biz.
I was just about to say that.
My voice is a lot better.
Purchase them on the website and have them mailed to you or held in store for pickup. You don't even have to come in. We can drop them off right to your car. Just give us a call. It's very easy. Very, very easy. You can also go to comichub.com, pay for all your stuff on there as well, if it's in your pull box. Conspirator Brock is Brock's blog, video pull list and unboxing videos. You can go over there and check out Brock's stuff for the week. Charlie has the Doctor Who podcast called Wanderers in the Fourth Dimension. And Kevin does the Between the Panels weekly interview series at fanbasepress.com. Also, don't forget to go to leannehill.com, which is my wife. That's her, Leanne. That's her website. And you can see her artwork on there, as well as purchase prints from etsy.com/shop/LeanneHillArt. If you're on Twitter, come harass most of us. I'm Ryan Higgins Ryan. Brock is Brock Sager, but the Twitter gods are not smiling on him yet.
Nobody's trying to help me out and say, adding Twitter support for my benefit. So
just Sock Brager. You need to register that Sock Brager at Sock Brager, and Toby is Toby. I'm sorry, our mysterious fourth chair, who still has not chimed in yet.
He's just trolling you,
probably Toby XI.
It would be awesome if he's not even in the room.
He's not.
If that's just set up and running. If it's actually Toby, but he just turned it on and left.
Yeah, he turned it off and left. Ryan's gonna be sitting there going, "You're not processed yet. You're not processed yet."
Charlie's Insanity and Chaos. Kevin is that Kevin Sharp. The store is ComicsCon store. Check out Geekbox, which I'm on every week. We're talking about the PS5. Got my PS5 set up yesterday. Talking about that and the new Spider-Man game. Oh, I didn't even talk about that on this podcast. The Miles Morales Spider-Man game. It's pretty fun. The same as the other one. And check out the Manga Machinations podcast. A bunch of our friends over there. Been on there a couple times. Talk about manga and anime. Okay, that's it. That's all. That's all I've got. We're gonna end this podcast now. See you next week.